أصحاب المعالي والسلام. الآن الساعة 10. تعرضها أنت؟ طيب احنا طلعنا هوا الحين ولا لسه؟ 1 2 3 4 5. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى.
In the name of Allah, most merciful, most compassionate, God's peace and mercy be upon all of you. Mercy of God and peace be upon our Prophet Muhammad. Ladies and gentlemen, dear attendees, God's peace and mercy be upon all of you. Today, we are in the first forum of the family business, our first, and we're going to talk about.
لوزارة التجارة للحديث عن موضوع مهم.
Today we're going to talk about a very important topic, and we're going to start with the first session, of course. In the first session, we're going to point out and to deliver the speech of His Excellency, the Minister of Trade. And for sustainability of the family business and its important role in the corporate system.
العائلية.
Important the role of the family business is in the corporate system. Now, let's listen to the speech of His Excellency, the Minister of Trade.
نشكر معالي الوزير كلمته في افتتاح الملتقى الوطني لاستدامة المنشآت العائلية. معنا الضيف اليوم سعادة الأستاذ عبدالعزيز الدحيم، وكيل وزارة التجارة المساعد للأنظمة واللوائح، عضو مجلس إدارة الهيئة السعودية للمحامين وبرنامج كفالة لتمويل المنشآت الصغيرة والمتوسطة. الأستاذ عبدالعزيز سبق له العمل في مكاتب المحاماة في الرياض وفي دبي، وحاصل على شهادة الماجستير في القانون التجاري من بريطانيا وبكالوريوس في الشريعة. حياك الله أبو سعود.
الله يحييك ويبقيك، صبحكم بالخير والحضور الكرام.
الله يحفظك. احنا حبينا اخوي عبدالعزيز في بدايه جلسه اليوم ان نعيد للحضور كلمه معالي وزير التجاره التي افتتح فيها الملتقى الوطني لاستدامه المنشآت العائليه، وذلك لموضوع مهم جدا، وهو انه اشار الى النظام الجديد للشركات والذي تعمل عليه وزاره التجاره. الحقيقه معالي الوزير في مقتطفات من كلمته أشار إلى أن نظام الشركات الجديد له أثر على المنشآت العائلية، وأيضا أن النظام الجديد تم إشراك فيه مجموعة كبيرة من رجال الأعمال، وأيضا المركز الوطني للمنشآت العائلية. كما أشار معاليه إلى أن النظام الجديد سوف يكون أداة تنظم عمل المنشآت العائلية، تعزز الحوكمة والشروط والضوابط التي تمنح الشركاء الكثير من الآليات في الإدارة التنفيذية للمنشآت العائلية. أخوي عبدالعزيز، أنت تعتبر الآن الأب الروحي للنظام الجديد للشركات، وأنا أتذكر لما عملنا سويا من خلال المركز الوطني ومع مجموعة صراحة
Center for Family Business as well, which really incorporated a number of family business men, and we're going to talk about the new amendments of the new corporate system. And before getting into the new corporate system, I want a very short brief about the current corporate system. When was the last amendment? When was the last amendment? And shortly after you finish this, talking about the latest amendment of the current corporate system, then we're going to talk about the new corporate system as well. But we want to get back a little bit, I think years ago, we want to talk about the background of the current system as well. First of all, I would like to extend my appreciation to you and to all, to the National Center for Family Business for organizing such forum, which is really amazing, which is really very rich in so many topics, and regarding the top more 10 topics as well, in a way that we can achieve the sustainability of the family business activity. Thank you very much for this. I would like to pay tribute to the efforts as well as regards the corporate system. Let's have some details about that. This current corporate system has been issued in 1337, and before 1385 we have been studying this system for a long time, until we reached 1437, where we amended within the economic changes that took place in the country, and it was very important to go and comply with the Vision 2030, and that reason we had to look at it within the concentration of the goals of the Vision 2030, and the consultancy as well, so as to establish an insolvency laws and regulations as well, and all of what's really related to this important topic, and which has become very important for all of us, so as to incorporate this in the new corporate system, taking into consideration the newly fast growing changes, according to which we have got we obtained the Royal Decree and the so as to improve the investment environment and business environment at the same time, so as to as well ask the capital market authority, so as to take these amendments into considerations, and after 3 years we came to conduct the study, very well detailed study that we're going to discuss a number of its components. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Mr. Abdulaziz. And what we understand from what you have said, that the latest amendment, the latest review of the corporate system, it was very near to us being, and within the coming days we're about to have a of the new corporate system, and which is going to be the point of reference, and including all the additions and all the amendments as well, not only including the family business but all of the business sectors as well. Mr. Abdulaziz, now let's listen, and let's start with the presentation from there, and let's interrupt you sometimes if we have something to intervene with. Of course, surely you can have this access. Well, first of all, let me talk about the new corporate system, and we're going to talk about the new facts, in addition to talk about the introduction as it is within the capital market authority, so as to view all the business as well in a way that in a number of phases. In the first phase, to look at the current system, in addition include all the regulations within the system, to review all the regulations or jurisdictions as well, through the participation of the stakeholders in the private and public sector. And the second phase, so as to study the most important method disciplines, so as to deal with the shortcomings for the current through the banning or benefiting from the new concept as well. The third phase, we came to the recommendations, so as to analyze all the best practices and compare them to what has been used in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, so as to come up with the new recommendations as regards the regulations that are enacted regulations in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. In the fourth phase, we came to formulate the public policies of the new the corporate system, and raise these policies well within the hands of the specialists from the public and private sector, in addition to organizing a number of jobs, so as to come up with the new vision and towards the policies and the very compatible policies at the workplace. And the fifth phase, we came to formulate the new corporate system, to a whole number of workshops and organize a number of workshops with the Chamber Council, with Chambers of Commerce, and to bring all the stakeholders into the whole process, because their role is very vital, it's very important, it's tangible and indispensable as well. So we need to include all sectors within the new corporate system, so as to work on this important project, so as to deal with all the challenges that you are facing for a time being in applying all of these regulations in the corporate sector. And one of the most important goals of the project, first of all, are focusing on governance within the best practices, which is very important to facilitate all the measures and procedures well to activate the business environment and enhance investments and support medium and small and macro business as well, so as to provide the regulations in regard of conflict and disputes for the stakeholders, and facilitate investment and funding processes within the least costs and prices for the SMEs. And finally, so as to achieve the balance between the employers and the stakeholders who are under the rule and under the law. And of course, this study included a number of benchmarks as well, and comparable studies from the United States of America, from France, the United Kingdom, and from the United Arab Emirates and Singapore. If you look at the system, the current system, it included it consists of 12 chapters, and with of course, and as for the new corp system, included 5 chapters, and which included additional regulations regarding the corporate regulations within the new amendments, as well, in addition to the other regulations that are going to be taken into considerations. The chapters of the new project. I'm going to talk about the most important amendments in such project, taking into consideration all aspects of the project. And the first chapter, the general regulations, like canceling all the restrictions that have been imposed on the companies and firms, And of course, in addition to canceling all the restrictions imposed on the companies, and in addition to including the contract of establishment of the companies and based on its basic regulations, basic system as well, and then allowing the partners or the establishers in time of establishing the company or the business to sign a contract so as to regulate the relationship between the partners and between the and in case of the death of the partner or the stakeholder or shareholder, or within the period of the establishment of, or just like signing a family contract that regulates the whole process. And in addition to taking into consideration the policies, the managing policies, in addition, and the policy of the relatives working within the company and within the firm itself, and to include all the rights and include all of this within the contract and with the basic contract of the company as well. One of the other things that really we considered, and in case of delay of the establisher, so as to provide the share that he has been committed to, and like for instance, like to execute everything that has been committed to as regards the rights of the shares and the shareholders. And the other thing in the first chapter, all the jurisdictions, regulations, the fiscal year, and the related problems, like the essential regulations as regards the exemption of the SMEs from the assigning the auditor or just internal auditor, unless the contract, the basic contract, did not include this. In addition to the other regulations regarding the exception of the SMEs as well from in addition, the project as well included the responsibilities, in addition to the responsibilities of the board member as regards the independence, providing the interests of the company, and in case of conflict of interests, and so as to incorporate all the rights of the shareholders, and to consider all the rights of the shareholders as well. The project included as well the legal rights and the policies regarding the shares according to the choices of the partners as well. The second chapter, one of the most important jurisdiction and regulations is to allow the person to be a partner, or the normal persons as well, to organize the mechanisms of the new the managing the partner, in addition to the other rights that are such thing. And the third chapter, we expanded the amendments, in putting and providing amendments, taking into consideration the nature of the partners and the contracting partners. And the fifth chapter included, which was one of the most important chapters, because included huge amendments as for shareholding companies. One of the most important regulations regarding this is to allow the shareholding and removing all the restrictions of the establishers of the business as well, either wholly owned companies or and we canceled all the restrictions to facilitate the establishment of the shareholding companies, either by one person, facilitating all the measures and the procedures, and through getting the approval, and without having any without having the General Assembly or establishing a General Assembly. One of the other things that really we considered in the amendments of the corporate system, as regards the membership of the board of directors, and shareholders must determine the number of the members as well of the board of directors as regards the membership of the board of directors, and it only confined to the normal persons, without giving this right to one person or one member, as for the voting system as well, for the shareholding companies which are listed companies, in a way so in a way of electing the members of the board of directors. And one of the most important thing that really we amended as for the rewards for the opponents as well of the board of directors, and the board of directors have got the right to determine the bonuses in addition to the recompenses within the conditions that will be based on the system of based on justice and transparency, and to up to the level and the success of the company as well. All of these things must be determined. The project as well included all kinds and pros and details so as to provide flexibility for the issuing the shares in multiple for different rights, either the ordinary or the excellent shares, or with the possibility with providing some of the rights to some of the shareholders in either through the profits or the marketing or commercializing or in time liquidation, and so as to guarantee the value rights and the to take into consideration justice. In addition to removing all restrictions and all shackles regarding of the offering of shares offering, and through in form of coming into an agreement and
اخوي عبد العزيز انا اسف للمقاطعه.
I'm sorry for my interruption. There is a very important point here. And that faces most of the family businesses as well. As for the flexibility of issuing the shares, and as you know, that really some of the family businesses will, some of the owners of the shares, even if they want to change the company into a closed shareholding company, and if they invited some other investors, well, and so. So these, of course, the advantage or the benefits of the internal investors might be very different from the benefits that might be obtained by other investors outside the family business. This is right. And of course, we provided a number of amendments so as to determine the right of the company, so as to organize according to its basic system and statute, and in a way to arrange the rights and obligations of certain of the shareholders in a way to determine the rights of each person and each shareholders, and in case of distributing such shares, or the right to attend the meetings of the board of the directors for the offering, and has the right to keep an eye on the documents of the company. And so in the new system, we have incorporated the flexibility advantage or amendment of flexibility, so as to recognize the rights of all shareholders in a way that each class they are using considering the rights of each class but of course it could be varied as well according to the agreement and approval of the establishers or the shareholders of within the same business. Then excellent, thank you very much, sir. May Allah bless you. One of the other regulations as well, we incorporated in the new corporate system as regards allowing the shareholders to come into an agreement, so that the majority of the shareholders to actually convince the minority so as to buy the shares within the same jurisdictions that are related to the same system or the same manner of buying the shares of the majority, and we're giving the right to the majority to sell the shares of the minority within the same price, within the conditions and regulations and jurisdictions to sell such shares. In addition, the fifth chapter included, or the project included, as regards the shareholding companies, to canceling all as for the share system and the distribution and dividends, or distributing the shares, and this can be determined in the basic system of the company or the statute of the company. One of the most important regulations that we have added into the current system to cancel, for instance, to cancel some of the measures. And the sixth chapter, this is a new form for the simple shareholding company, especially the family business as well, and so as to fulfill the requirements and demands of entrepreneurs and the SMEs as well. And it can be established by one person or more than one person, and the capital can be distributed based on shares, and these shares can be offered as well based on the regulations, responsibilities of the practicing this business as well, and the managers or those or the managing system, either through directors and managers or the board of directors. So and within the flexibility of issuing the resolutions and making the decision-making process as well, based on the approval of the shareholders upon all the responsibilities and obligations that can be taken by the board of directors, in addition to either the capital is owned by one person or more than one person, and within the flexibility, so as to determine, of course, the statute, in addition to the right of transferring the assets and the property in based on the modern international practices, which incorporates the responsibility of some of the small businesses, and providing flexibility for the shares offering, and providing flexibility to the establishers of such business as regards the managing system of this company. And of course, limited liability businesses, and we canceled all the restrictions in establishing and owning more than one company. But now the system allowed only one person to be the owner of one company. We have actually provided new amendments as regards to the shares, the capital shares. In addition of distributing the shares, we came up with a new amendments as well, canceling some of the restrictions in case of losses, and in a way that will allow the companies to get some of the funding or just like financing with an additional regulation according to the Capital Market Authority for the financing sukuks, or to be offered according to the system of the company itself or the shareholding company. And the project as well added two chapters, the 8th and the 9th, as regards the non-profit companies, in addition to the profession companies. And we have added all the regulations and projections related to in a way to unify all the regulations and all the conditions, projections of the different types of companies within the new corporate system, in addition to adding a new chapter for the different types of for the non-profit businesses, in addition to professional businesses as well, so as to enhance the third sector, so as to find a very important investing arm, so as to complete the journey of the whole cycle of investment as well, and included two types of companies, non-profit and and here both do not aim to gain profits, but the public non-profit is based on providing services to the community, to serve the community according to the system itself. But as the private non-profit will actually vary its activities. Sir, could we move back to the 8th and the 9th, as for the public non-profit and the private non-profit sector or company? How do you see that establishing such companies will be within the family business as well? We know that many family businesses, they have the feeling of social responsibility, and they have their own problems, social problems that are in compliance with the non-profit sector. And some of its activities are focusing on serving the community and serving the community and the society. And so if you look at this, how can we look at this, based on how can we establish non-profit public companies based on the social responsibility. We believe that the third sector, non-profit companies, are very important components of our economy, especially if we take into considerations the work of non-profit sector and its importance in the community. If we take the family business, there are many challenges facing family business as well, such like sometimes when family business are allocating a part of its activity for the social responsibility related products, and through supervising or through allocating or just appointing as a department so as to supervise the social responsibility related projects of such companies, or to allocate certain funds for the non-profit activities in a way that will serve the companies through its social responsibility. In addition, it will help these family business, the pioneering family businesses, to serve the national sectors and non-profit sectors as well. Some companies are very talented in finding a new opportunity, new investment opportunities, and this is the high level of creativity of such family business. When you find a non-profit company and where it can be supervised and be managed as well, and to allocate its spending in a way that can be under the supervision of this family business as well, either in the health sector or in different types of sectors or services that are targeting the community in non-profit sector. So family business can be restructured some parts of its activities, and this can be under the aspects of the family business fund or allocating a fund, because some of these family businesses, they have social responsibility based to products, and through establishing a society or non-profit society, and they have sometimes other commercial activities or business activities which are designated for the non-profit related activities, and this might mitigate or just like reduce the tension in the attempt of establishing such kind of project or non-profit sector in case of a rising conflict among the heirs. Mr. Abdulaziz, when we look at the non-profit sector, which is the third sector as well, we have another organizing authority, which is the Ministry of Social, Human Resources and Social Affairs as well. Does this system allow those who are very concerned about establishing such kind of activities as well, in a way that they have to go to the Social Development Ministry? Yes. As a matter of fact, this is a very complementary to all the systems that organize and regulate the non-profit sector in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And establishing non-profit sector is not related, or business not related to it can be investing arm so as to provide benefits to non-profit sectors. And of course, the ministry has the right to issue the establishment license to this company in a way that, and this company, it has to be within licensed companies, either through non-profit societies or charitable charity associations, in a way that will focus on serving this sector. So its work is complementary to the national society, national non-profit societies, and that practices the national charity business, and at the same time they can actually work within the business activities in a way that it can use a part of its profits in such non-profit projects, but within the license from the ministry and within the approval from the ministry today. And we are always communicating with our stakeholders and in the other related ministers so as to organize the jurisdictions and regulations of such sector. Thank you very much for this enlightenment that you provided us. Thank you very much, sir. As for non-private sector included or companies included all the regulations and jurisdictions as regards the membership rights in a way that allow non-profit sectors so as to incorporate this in the contract establishment, and as regards paying the fees, the annual fees, and by a group or more. In addition to allowing or giving the right of voting in amending or changing or altering some of the regulations of the company, and allowing the company as well so as to take some of to get some financing as well, and they can actually allocate a part of its profits to the objectives and goals that have been set forth in the establishment contract. And the chapter that comes after, and as holding companies, and of course this sector is very important. It's very based on the workshops that were organized as regards the holding companies and their rights to practice economic activities, in addition to the other companies that have a number of shares in the holding companies or affiliated companies, in addition to giving the approval and the rights to the managers so as to invite the board of directors so for meetings, either to apply some regulations or for clarifications, the way that it will provide them with the rights on approval of the decisions or resolutions taken by the board of directors of each company as well. The chapter that comes after as regards the merger of companies and transformations of companies, and this, of course, we came up with a number of amendments, and so as to meet the challenges as regards the exit of the partner who was got objection on the exit or the transformation or the merger, or liquidation in case of liquidation, as for the merging companies, and as regards taking any resolution or taking steps regarding the project as well. The project has included the mechanism of the objection of creditors as regards the period short term of times. As for the 12th chapter has included all details concerning the foreign companies and for investing companies. And the 13th chapter as regards the liquidation and optional liquidation in case of insolvency, and we clarified all the procedures and measures regarding insolvency, and in either optional or the legal liquidation based on the legal condition or based on the court, and the inability of the company to fulfill its liabilities in time of liquidation as well, where measures must be considered according to the system of insolvency. And the 14th chapter included all the legal regulations as regards the capital market authority violation, establishing a committee for reviewing all the violations based on the establishing system or the corporate system, and to replace the related systems as well. These are the most important chapters that we amended within the current system, and they wanted to shed light on all of these amendments and for the current corporate system that we are using. And later on we'll work to the best of our ability so as to review all the regulations within the visions that have been provided by the government entities and the private sectors, and even the outcomes of workshops that we organize in developing this project will be in advance later on, of course. Thank you very much, Mr. Abdulaziz. Thank you very much. We thank you. We extend our appreciation to all the details and all the explanations of the new current of the system, the current corporate system, and as regards the period of time, the period of time has been over or has been concluded. Yes, absolutely right. Yes, based on the big number of workshops that we organized and listening to the stakeholders and other and the businessmen and National Center for Family Businesses, and they provided a number of views. We held a number of workshops, and we came up with number of proposals, recommendations that we are analyzing so as to develop the project and the regulations of the project. And the repeated question, when shall I do that? Well, as a matter of fact, yes, and the new corporate system, when shall it be accomplished? Yes, as a matter of fact, we are very cautious. We are very keen in the ministry so as to develop this project. And thank God we reached a very advanced level, though the fact that we met a number of challenges. And I think that we are in the final phase of formulating the new system, and is going to be referred to the authorities so as to discuss it in the cabinet and the Shura Council, and the project is the project is well considered by His Excellency the Minister, and of course the governor of the Capital and Market Authority, and it's going to be highly considered and highly taken into consideration by all their excellencies. We get back to the most important topic, which is the impact of the new corporate systems on the family businesses. So the system included a number of chapters and amendments that's going to have a great impact on the sustainability of the family business. Well, one of the most important amendments, which is the guidelines chapter, which is going to provide guidelines to the family business, which is going to be the constitution, the family constitution of family business as well. And based on this guidelines and its impact, based on the challenges between the guidelines that has been issued 2 years ago by the Ministry of Trade and the new guidelines that have been provided, the proposed one, which is going to be incorporated in the new corporate system. Great, perfect. Well, as a matter of fact, family business in general speaking, have been taken into consideration so as to study the corporate system relating to the family business, and we have a number
مثل ما تناولنا فيما يتعلق
of new regulations, rejections that are related to the family business organization, as we explained before, which is for signing the family business contract, which is going to be the integral part of the statute of the company as regards the policies of the dividends and distributing the shares and the profits, and the entry of relatives in time in case of death of the founder of the business, the family business, and all the challenges that face the family businesses and their journey as well. In addition to the other indirect amendments and regulations that really have a great impact on the work of the family business, well, like that it's going to be why, because we take into granted the important role of family businesses in the community and in the national economy. So we try to provide the great enablers to these family businesses, in addition to focus on the advantages as like the offering in the capital market and allowing, for instance, the family business members so as to organize the meetings, the board members in a flexible way, so as to achieve sustainability. And as regards what you have referred to, the distribution of shares, there are new amendments and new jurisdictions that will regulate all of these matters and all of these efforts within the participation of all the family business members, which will achieve sustainability in the future. In addition to the other point that we talked about, as for the family business chapter, which depends on the concept of the family chapter, including the governance of the family businesses, and governance is just to consider all the mechanisms, all the rules, all the regulations, all the laws that really focus on directing and managing and supervising the activities of the family business, in addition to determining the obligation and responsibility of each part and each party as well, through the internal and outs and internally and externally. Internally regarding the directors and the employees, and externally with focuses on the clients and the atmosphere and the markets in general. The concept of family business, if we really want to define it, which is the family business, which is organized and managed by the family, and describing family business is not necessarily to define it as having all of these components, but it depends on the desire of the owners of the family business as well, based on the fact that it is a family business. So it takes different forms and different shapes as well of the regulating companies. And what we can understand from this concept, which is either through limited liability or responsibility, if you look at the holding companies, it will be very compatible to the business form for many good advantages, because it's going to last for a long period of time, and the flexibility of moving and transferring the shares of the shareholders, and then the framework that will enable the society and the general assembly of the shareholders. These are the very simple concepts that we need to consider, that will restructure the family business, will restructure
هيكلة نظامية
which it's based on the legal restructuring, organizational restructuring as well, so as to actually focus on the value and restructuring the activities, which are going to be, or just like to restructuring the activities of the company through composing very coherent sectors and looking at the need for not for amending or changing or transforming the shares of the family business as well. One other question, or I'm sorry for intervention, and what you have discussed and what you have explained as regards to the forms of family businesses and the definition of the family business as a term which has been introduced. All the definition for the family business and we have here a very strong we have a gap as regards to the definition of the family business as well. We face a number of challenges as regards defining, putting a good definition of the family business in a very clear way. This is what you want to say. We want to say that this family business, it's a whole family shareholding family business. So how, in what way the new corporate system will clarify the mechanism of the work in the family business, or putting the right and proper definitions. This is one of the most important concepts that we focus to study all the aspects related to family business. We overviewed all the definitions of family business and the best practices as well. And finally, and by the end of the day, we found that there are certain kind of regulations that really that can be based on flexibility. Family business are defined according to the concept of the founders. Sometimes it might be owned by a number of founders, not only one founder. And so there is a flexibility as regards to definitions. I think actually this is left to the owners of the family business to define the concept of this company and the scope of its activity, and including their wives, sisters, and brothers, and sometimes we saw that that family business can collect more than one family, can incorporate one either with the direct relations or without family relations. So or variety of families that can come into one business together. We have a number of questions and want to actually deliver these questions. We can take questions from the audience as well. And as for the features of the chapter, and now let's get into the chapter. And of course, let's take the questions later on after giving some details about the one of the most important things we need to understand when it comes to discussion or discussing the governance of the family business, as for separating the ownership from the management or from the management. And this separation, the separation doesn't mean that separating the ownership from the management as well, but this will enable some of the family members and to participate in the management within a well-structured framework, and so as not to allow the intervention of a member within the regulations that have been determined, either in form of owner or board of director or a member of the executive department, executive management. And just to share in the family, I would like to share the family chapter with you. Now you can see the chapter right now, the guidelines of the family business.
طيب
Saudi chapter, Saudi charter, and of course, you know, it's a family charter, it's a family document, and it's based on for business purposes, and its preparation must be based on a collective work, must be based on a collective work with the fact that there must be the benefit from the consultations of the specialists as well, where this chapter could be considered could be a guiding line for the members of the family business and the way that they own their property, and in a way it will help them to achieve some of its instructions, which is based on the most important thing, which is the sustainability of this family business. The chapter, it's a very vital chapter, a vital document that considers the present as well as the future. It takes into consideration the long run horizons, so as to organize the motivating factors through incorporating other external partners, and to manage the family business constitutionally. And it's complementary system. It's not a separate chapter. And the contents of this chapter, if you look at it, it includes all the values of the family and the family businesses and the societies shareholders and the board of directors, the general policies of the company or the family business, and we will just give further details concerning the policies. And as for the values and objectives, and it includes a number of general principles that are stemming from the heritage and legacy and the commercial heritage of the family and their ethics and so as to be a guideline for the generations to come. And if they have a social goal of the family can be actually mentioned, in addition to the traditions which were the result of the long journey of the business of the family, in addition to the chapters or regulations that are considered by the family and that could be taken into consideration or not taken into consideration as well. So if you look at sometimes it's very important to share the screen. Now, yes, we can see the values, the family, and the goals. Some of the audiences, they don't have it. Some of our brothers or colleagues, they don't have the shared documents, the screen shared documents. So we can repeat it back again. We can re-put it, re-share it with you. Now, did you see it very clear? Right now, it's very clear. It's very clear right now. After this part, after the values of the family business, later on, of course, we're going to come into details as a course of system of establishing the family business as well, so as to avoid any negative repercussions of establishing, especially in the second and the third generation of the family business, as determine all the nature of these family business, which depends on the situation of family business. So the chapter is not one copy that is suitable for all business as well. But of course, each family they can adopt this chapter according to the conditions and the environment where this family business works as well, because sometimes you have to understand the fact that really any family business passes by three stages. For the first phase establishment, which putting the family business within the course and within the journey. Early planning before establishing through organizational framework, so as to prepare the second or the coming generations as well, so as to follow these guidelines later on. The second phase as regards the common leadership or the common management, in a way to achieve the harmony among the member of the family as well. The third phase, which is considered a very big challenge and transfer, so as to achieve harmony in case of not finding the harmony, or in case of lack of coordination among the family business members. So this requires all details, so as to deal with the very essential issues such as decision-making process the family disputes, settling the family conflicts, or in case of legal conflict that might arise among the family members, the family business members as well. And this chapter has been ensured, it has been incorporated so as to help the family business to avoid such conflicts. And later on,
العليا للشركة
we have the holding society, and the assembly, which considers all the members of the family members as well as regards the chapter, according to the regulations and according to the responsibilities, according to the decision-making process, in addition to the invitations for attending the assembly meetings, in addition to the board of the family as well. Some chapters include the general scope, or just like the meetings or the family meetings, so as to discuss some of the private issues, including the family business will. And it's very this, some families, sometimes they have the meetings or the council of family, where they incorporate the goals of the family business as well, through meetings and through holding meetings, so as to enhance the relationship. The council of the family, the family council, is one of the most important components of the family business. It depends on how big the family is. At the same time, it is the points of connection of all the members of the family, and it depends on the formation of such council. Depends on the number of the family members, so as to achieve efficiency and effectiveness. And it has to be, and there must be a clarification of choosing the members throughout the elections, and the quorum through general assembly, and where every shareholder has the right to participate in the election of the member of the family. And one of the most important principles, it doesn't have to be based on owning or incorporating the membership of the board of directors and the family council. So there must be separation between the family council membership and the board of directors membership. And we're going to talk, this part talks about the responsibilities, obligations of the family members, which is to supervise the performance of the family business, and the consulting body and the consulting section, and reviewing all the activities, and doing their best so as to solve any problem, and to prepare new generations of the family business, so as to be supervised, the supervisory body, followed by the board of directors, and the CEO, and this is one of the most important pillars of the governance, commercial governance, of the corporate governance. And it's very important so as to achieve independence of the board of directors, so as to practice things, and so as to supervise the work of the executive CEO, and by not having the right, so not to give the right for any of the family members to intervene in the board of directors resolutions or decision-making process as well. This is based on allocating all policies and obligations of the family members, and the work and the obligations of the CEO, and as not to have both jobs, the chairman of the board of directors or the chairman of the council of the family as well. At the same time, must be determining of a period of time of the board of directors that doesn't have to be renewed. According to it has to be based on the desire of the founders, in addition to formulating all the regulations and rules and mechanisms, so as to form the committees, and in addition to the benefits and incentives as well, and taking into consideration all of these rules and obligations. After all of these after the establishment of the family business as well, at the end of the chapter, there must be some general policies, and this is the most important component that the family business chapter has. And these are the rules that organize the family business itself, where it determines the issue of the concept of the membership of the family members, and their implications, and in what way there must be prerequisites as for determining the qualifications of the family member, in addition to bringing the family members under the responsibility and liability in and of course, allowing the family members to work within the family business according to the regulations policies. One of the most important policies regarding the dividends, the distribution of dividends or the profits as well. Could we just get back to the previous slide? One of the most important components that His Excellency the Minister of Trade has referred to as regards, I mean, appointing relatives in the family business, appointing relatives, even if there is a desire from the partners so as to grant incentives to the relatives. This might cause violation, or in case if they don't have the desire. If they don't have the desire, for instance, this must be very clear in the chapter, and this is what I understand from the, and I hope that this message is very clear to the audience in such regard. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. This is what's very clear. Why we want to limit the conflicts that might arise among the family members and family business members, which clarify the responsible obligations of the relatives working within the family business as well, and within where the family member frame doesn't have to be under the authority of another family member, and there's many problems and challenges, Bill. So why we want to ensure a transfer of responsibility and these values to the next generation that comes and that follows. So all of these rules, all of these regulations have been clarified and have been explained regarding the general policies of appointing relatives, or just like for the employees working within the family members as within the family business as well. And in addition to the other parts that focuses on some of the regulations, which is not specifying some of the family members within through providing certain incentives to him. So all of these policies have been very clarified and very clear in a way that it will limit the scope of conflicts, and will stop progress of the family business. Now we are working within the perspective of such policies. Of course, as regards to the regulations of how to deal with the family members or the relatives in the family business, well, one of the most important thing as regards to the family chapter is main regulations and the importance of such regulations, which is based on keeping the bondage and keeping the intact relationship among the family members, because this is very important. So, which is very important for all the family members so as to agree on these general policies and general regulations. But in case of conflict, they might lead to many negative repercussions when a family member sees, or one of the family members sees that other family members, they have many incentives, more incentives than other family members. So all of these elements or the components of conflict will force the family members to come into an agreement so as to allow so as to make the decisions and policies as well through the organization measures, through this General Assembly, and where all the jurisdictions and regulations must be enacted upon all of them. So one of the most important thing about this chapter, which is not to focus on nepotism or any recommendations, for instance, through giving incentives to a family member more than others as well, and or through appointing unqualified family member. And so these are recommendations based on the best practices that consider two things. First, which is limiting the conflicts family in a way that will lead to the system of family business, and the family business success will be dependent on all the employees, either from the internally or externally, in a way that will be based on justice and fairness as well, so as to achieve the goals, the common goals of family members. And thank you very much. And I think Chile, we have
فصل حساس.
صحيح. يمكن
the chapter is very important as well. As for the distribution of dividends or shares as well, this is very important cornerstone so as to achieve the balance between the interest of the company and keep as far as possible its profits, and at the same time the interest of the shareholders, and so as to get a regular source of income from the company as well. So how to balance or achieve the balance between the two interests, first of all, depends on two principles. The interest of each shareholder, so as to receive the cash or shares in a way that does not affect the common good or the common interests in developing the company. And the second thing, that the family business doesn't have to be the only source of income for the family member, and this is and the assembly or the council has got the wisdom and has got the methodology so as to determine the mechanism of distributing the profits and dividends among the family members in a fair way, with fairness and justice as well. As for how to deal with the shares and the exit, these are some of the problems that facing the family businesses, and as a matter of fact, these are the most important challenges, which is the exit of a shareholder or a partner. It probably happens. It happens anytime, and this might not be a factor to stop the progress of the family business or the company as well. Each family business must have a mechanism of exit in a way that has to be formulated with wisdom and farsightedness, taking into consideration all the different perspectives in a way to enhance the mechanism of exit with full concentration as well, and subjective valuation.
مسألة مدى الحاجة إلى أكثر.
Taking into considerations the practical manner and taking into considerations the period of time allocated as well, because this depends on the shares that does not require time so as to apply. One of the options that the family business can consider, which is to seek the valuation consultations, depending on the selling partner, and taking into consideration the valuation for transfer or for in case of not accepting it. So the partner which is going to be benefiting from the value, he can actually appoint an evaluator so as to make a new valuation, and it can actually depend on an average. So there are many details to be considered, but the most important thing is that this part in the chapter will clarify all of these misconceptions so as to limit the conflicts and to reach reconciliation before going to the courts.
الآلية المثلى حقيقة تعتمد.
So choosing the best methodology or mechanism depends on the volume of activity of and how huge size the family business has, and depending on the valuation of activities. And this actually requires the transfer of shares of the heirs to the heirs of the partners, and according to the default regulations. Mr. Abdulaziz, we come back to the most important point as well, which is the former slides. Sometimes we have many many different types of points of views as regards evaluating the shares of the partners, and there are misconceptions and controversially discussed matters. There must be a mechanism for evaluation. Could you talk about the mechanism of evaluation as regards to the distribution of shares among the shareholders within the family business? There might be an approval on the exit of one of the partners, but the conflict that comes, and what about the share of this partner? How? This is beautiful, great. And as a matter of fact, all of these mechanisms, they have been taken into consideration, are different, different according to the volume and according to the assets of the family business, whether it's big or small, and according to the approval and the agreement of the partners on the accommodation and or on the compliance as well. And in less costly measures and the procedures as well. And this what has been considered in the chapter, and taking into consideration the international practices in a way to short so as to facilitate the exit of the partners, in addition to covering the costs from the evaluator, accredited evaluator, where an external evaluator can evaluate his share, and based on the most important practice, the best practices and international standards as well, based on the evaluation and evaluators and evaluation of the shares. And in case the partners agreed on restoring the share within this value, So the procedure will be shortened in case they are not agreeing. So there might be a right of the partner so as to appoint one of the evaluator, and he's going to pay for him, and he can actually get the average of the evaluation. The value it might be fair and it might be very just in so as to restore the value. So this is one of the tools that really clarifies the way how to overcome this problem among the partners, and which actually which is really fully based on more elements and more details from any evaluator, based on the full agreement, or just taking the concentration, big names or big consultation houses that takes into consideration. So all of these details in the chat are taken into consideration. So we want to give the minimum method so as to facilitate the exit in case of the exit of the partner, and of course the family members, they can actually accommodate according to the assets of the company based on the approval of the partners as well, within a fair methodology of a fair tool. So as for the repayments as well, and the repayment within a short period of time, so a certain period of times must be referred to in the contract, or it can be divided within partials into partial payment in case of insolvency, or in case of having a difficulty in payment as well, so as not to cause any harm of the exit partner, or the so as not to especially in case of replacing him with new partners, or if partners are agreeing on restoring these shares as well, they can be so all of these details are very big and very great. Once again, they depend primarily on the volume of the assets of the family business and the concept of the partners, if they see that these are compatible for the exit partners, or the partners who are intending to exit. Thank you very much, Mr. Abdulaziz. Now move to the concluding jurisdictions and taking care of the formulation and formulating settling disputes and merging disputes, applying and interpreting all the jurisdiction articles of the chapters, and as for the court's role, the commercial, or just referring the conflict, or going into commercial litigation or courts as well, the family council of family, in case of settling the disputes in case of conflicts as well. Once there is a conflict, they can refer to all the litigation process to the jurisdictions as regards to the litigation process, or in either in courts or arbitration. At the conclusion, governance is very important for the family business. Will taking the concentrations, the most important benefits of its application as well, and the shareholders, the family council, the board of directors. The most important goal through these guidelines is to give an access to all of these the family businesses, so as to value their social responsibility for each member. So governance is the very rationally considered, and is value added, and plays an important role to achieve sustainability of the family business. It's very important to incorporate all of these chapters into a written undertaking or an agreement, and family business must clarify them. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Abdulaziz. I think actually incorporating this chapter within the family business sustainability, it includes a number of guidelines and very important enlightenments that will put an end to the conflicts arising in the family business as well through, and this will clarify the rights and applications, and this is very important, very tangible component, and will actually help the family businesses to remove these challenges and put an end to these obstacles. point that you mentioned, Mr. Abdulaziz here, and this contains as regards the partners' shares and the exit of the partners as well from business as well, and the and 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 the, and and sometimes we have very stable business, and unfortunately, we all of a sudden we find a great shift and some change and a conflict, especially in case of the tough discussions of the exit as well. So problems start to arise, and come up, and it might lead to I mean, the litigation process or going into the courts. So I think within this jurisdiction, of course. Within the jurisdictions with this amendment that has been incorporated in the charter, this is going to be opening the door. Is it? Okay, it's going to be opening the door for new horizons, coming on the way. And I think actually one of the most important things we need to consider the points that really interpreted and explained with constant process. And of course, now that we have reached the concluding part of your presentation, we come to the questions. And sorry, open the floor for questions. There is a very important question. If the establishment contract included an article that any partner has no right to go to court in time of conflicts or in case of conflicts, and these conflicts must be under arbitration within the process of arbitration. So we want to clarify this. Undoubtedly, of course, using alternative methods for the litigation process is very important as well, or settling the dispute. And this is optional to go for commercial litigation or for the court litigation as well. This is what and a fundamental right of the partners, and either through courts or through arbitration, and it depends on the situation of the partners. Have a consensus on going into commercial litigation, and this must be written in the contract, and this is one of the most important components of the new corpus system that we need to take into consideration and work for implementation to the best of our ability.
Whether legal or that it should be formulated and clearly formulated. So some contracts consequently the contract may be not clear, and it not be easy, of course, to look into the contract or the agreement. So once the contract of the arbitration is clear, it becomes like the partners become entitled to go into the court. Mr. Abdulaziz, I have one more addition, and I have different questions to ask. Identifying the entity or agency or entity for arbitration, how can such an agency or entity can be identified for arbitration? So the question is it binding once they agree? That is it binding for on all the partners to agree on this? This is true. Yeah, of course, this is one of the conditions of arbitration, and arbitration has different approaches, different rules, different decisions and provisions, and of course it depends on the agreement of the partners, and also it depends on the arbitration approach. It could be like institutional arbitration or commercial or legal arbitration. It depends on the centers of arbitration, accredited or adopted, either locally or regionally or globally. And also there should be like mechanism of application or implementation of the language of arbitration. Also the governing law of the arbitration. All these issues, of course, have been taken into consideration and have become so resilient. And of course, the law gave much resilience. Gave the arbitration much resilience. But at the same time, of course, it depends on the wish of the partners when it comes to the hours or the nature, or it can be like general rule, and then later the partners can come to agree on certain points. Because at the end of the day, it is very important to settle the disputes when they, of course, resort to arbitration. rules followed, because the rules followed reduce the disputes and settle the disputes, and also when they do not agree on certain points without referring to the judiciary or without waiting the court to establish or announce a certain decision. So the institutional arbitration covers these kind of issues and help to settle the disputes once the partners agree on certain points or agree on the mechanism or arbitration along with other details. Thank you very so much. One more question that is connected to the charter or the law, and also to the arbitration. Is the family charter or law, can it be considered as a law, standalone law, or because, as you know, it has been part and parcel of the foundation or establishment agreement or contract? That's true. That's true. The family charter or law is very much like any kind of agreement or contracts, and is considered therefore adopted and a reference, of course, and also the law has taken this into consideration, to take also the consideration of the provisions and the text of the law or of the charter. So it becomes like part and parcel of the foundation or establishment agreement and law of the family business, because it is considered as a reference by itself when it comes to the application of the law. Of course, you know, Mr. Abdulaziz, it is always we always look for any kind of support or motives. So the question we have, always we have actually, from different companies or businesses, if, of course, these businesses apply governance and sustainability rules and principles or a family business law, it means that the question is, can we see some kind of motives for these kind of family businesses coming into play, or what? In fact, the ministry is working on a draft law and putting it into action, and also introducing the governance law into the family business with more details, and also is investigating and examining different sides in terms of the classification of the family businesses, and also taking into consideration the policies of the governance and how to put this into action or into place. I don't have something in mind, any initiatives, but there are different programs within the Vision 30, and how this can help to incentivize and motivate the family businesses to adopt more governance laws and regulations. And also, particularly when it comes to listing such family businesses into the stock market, and also other considerations that can help to enhance the development and the growth of these family businesses. One more question. Can the family law or family business law be considered as a reference for all the decisions, such as, for example, the dividends, the exit agreement, or including new partners? So can it be considered as a main or a key reference? Can the family business law be considered as a key reference? That's true. I do believe, as I refer to the fact that, yeah, once they agreed on, it can be considered. A very important point is that this family business law should take into consideration the points taken into consideration, also the foundation or establishment agreements and other rules, binding rules and binding principles. It is true that it can be considered as binding for the family businesses across all the aspects that they agree on, along with the different also principles and rules when it comes to the powers and authorities for the councils or board of directors of the family businesses, and also the different sides on which, of course, they build more and more points, more agreements, and other associated considerations. We did notice in the presentation they have already provided
من هيئة سوق المال.
There is a kind of participation from the monetary or the money market authority, this kind of participation between the ministry as a regulating or regulatory or regulator of the business sector in terms of the formulation of the new law. Yes, the authority is a key partner in applying the family business laws and based on the royal directives. Both are considered as key partners to review the laws and provisions, of course, over the 3 running years, and also any kind of shortages should be taken into consideration and also take into consideration the best practices. At the same time, the market authority, of course, supervises the most important part of the family businesses or the listed company in the stock market, taking into consideration, of course, the consideration of the other business, because it is a key partner when it comes to the application and review of the law competent. One final question, please, relating to regulations and provisions of the family businesses. Of course, the law will take its place, of course, and will wait for the final approval by the royal court in terms of the rules and regulations. Will there be any kind of participation or engagement by other partners or like a kind of consultancy or seeking their opinions? No doubt the regulations and provisions are supporting factors to better understand the details, and also it depends on understanding at least the nature of the law and how it can enhance, for example, certain points, certain procedural points, rules, detailed rules, and it will be like the development of the regulations and provisions will be, of course, conducted very much like the same way the law was established, like taking into consideration the best practices and also seeking the opinions, the consultancies and the people interested or concerned, and working with the different stakeholders, including lawyers, businesses, accountants, and also like the people who can be impacted by the application of this. So the publication, seeking the opinions, the consultancies, the advisory service, of course, will be a great support for the regulations and provisions to benefit from the insights of the stakeholders as well. Mr. Abdulaziz, are you still with us? Yes, I am still online with you. Sorry, I might have a connection. I'm quite sorry for this. I'd like to thank you so much for the rich information you provided us with, and thanks ever so much for your participation. You have talked about important points and topics, whether family businesses or non-family businesses. All people are waiting for the publication of the new law and also the family business charter or law. And we hope that it will create such a quantum leap into the family business laws, and it will protect these family businesses from different disputes or conflicts or potential problems. We hope that it will reduce the disputes and conflicts of the family business. Any final word that you would like to say for the people interested and the people attending, the participants for the family
مكسب كبير
and non-family businesses. And it's such a great, of course, contribution. Your presentation is such a great contribution. They are listening attentively to your presentation, to your final word, and they are looking into the efforts made by the competent authorities in introducing the laws of the family businesses for the support of the family business sector and the business environment. So any final word that you'd like to say? Thank you ever so much, Mr. Talal. The ministry believes in the importance of the role of responsibilities of the family businesses sector in the national economy, whether in the business environment. So developing this sector and this law, of course, will take or will make a great leap, a great step into the family businesses, such as the sustainable businesses and the development of these family businesses, and also giving the value and also the succession of the family business into different generations and the responsibility or roles of each member of the family and the interest or protecting and maintaining the interest of the family members. So also the ministry, in light of this, of course, has been so much keen on putting solutions for any disputes or conflict arising from the family business activities to create a model, a business model that can meet the needs of the family businesses, to have this institutionalized efficiently with higher level of sustainability and with a coherence and coherent and cohesion or cohesive, fabric of the with the national economy and the safety and the maintenance of the interests of the family business. I'd like to express my appreciation and gratitude for the Saudi Governance Center for your efforts for this conference. We are very much interested in listening, of course, to the other speakers. Thank you so much. Your attention is highly appreciated. Your attention is appreciated. Thank you so much, Mr. Abdulaziz, the Deputy of the Ministry of Commerce for the regulations, laws, and provisions. Thank you ever so much for all the participants, audience, attendees for the sustainability of their family businesses. Your attention is highly appreciated. Stay tuned, please.